You may have seen headlines or social media posts claiming that some sunscreens are toxic, and that understandably makes people nervous. After all, sunscreen is something we put directly on our skins, sometimes on children, and often repeatedly throughout the day. So where does the concern come from? The controversy mainly centers around certain chemical sunscreen ingredients, not sunscreen as a whole. There are two broad categories of sunscreen: mineral sunscreens and chemical sunscreens. Mineral sunscreens use ingredients like zinc oxide or titanium dioxide that sit on the surface of the skin and reflect ultraviolet light. Chemical sunscreens, on the other hand, use ingredients like oxybenzone, avobenzone, octinoxate, and others that absorb UV rays and convert them into heat. The concern about toxicity largely focuses on some of those chemical ingredients, particularly oxybenzone and octinoxate. Studies have shown that when people apply sunscreen in typical real-world amounts, measurable levels of some chemical sunscreen ingredients can be detected in the bloodstream. That discovery led regulators to say more safety data was needed to fully evaluate long-term systemic exposure. Now here's the important part. Detectable in the bloodstream does not automatically mean dangerous. The levels found in studies were far below thresholds associated with known harm. But because sunscreen is used repeatedly and often over many years, regulators like the U.S. Food and Drug Administration have asked manufacturers to provide additional data to confirm long-term safety. There have also been environmental concerns. Certain ingredients, including oxybenzone and octinoxate, have been linked in some studies to coral reef damage under laboratory conditions. That's why places like Hawaii have restricted the sale of sunscreens containing specific chemicals. Then there's another layer of concern that gets amplified online: contamination. In recent years, some aerosol sunscreen products were recalled after testing found benzene, a known carcinogen, as a contaminant. That wasn't an intended ingredient, it was a manufacturing issue, but it understandably raised public anxiety. So where does that leave us? Major dermatology organizations consistently state that sunscreen is safe and far safer than unprotected sun exposure. Skin cancer risk from ultraviolet radiation is well established and significant. The scientific consensus remains that using sunscreen dramatically reduces the risk of skin cancer and premature skin aging. People who are uncomfortable with chemical sunscreens, mineral sunscreens with zinc oxide or titanium dioxide are widely considered effective and stable options. They've been used for decades and are generally regarded as safe when used as directed. So the concern about toxicity isn't that sunscreen itself is poison. It's that certain chemical ingredients are still undergoing additional review for long-term systemic exposure, and that environmental impacts have raised policy questions in specific regions. In simple terms, sunscreen protects you from a known risk: UV radiation. The toxicity concerns relate to specific ingredients and ongoing research, not to the idea of sunscreen as a whole. And avoiding sunscreen entirely is far more dangerous than using it responsibly.